welcome to the latest instalment of our London Interviews series. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Daniel Bischofberger, who's CEO of Acceleron. And Acceleron is a Swiss engineering company with a 100-year legacy. I suppose one of the accolades is they invented the turbocharger, which is excellent. And today they're using turbocharging, fuel injection and digital solutions to help the maritime industry decarbonise, something that's very, very important. Daniel, thank you very much for being here and welcome.
Yeah.
And for those less familiar, I want you to talk to me a little bit about Acceleron in a second, but thank you very much. You're going to be getting involved in our global hub during LSW as well, which is excellent. So we've got a lot of delegations coming in from around the world, and you're going to be representing Switzerland, which is absolutely brilliant. So really, really welcome. It's going to be an amazing week. It's all that sort of calm before the storm now in the run up to it. But thank you very much indeed for your time today. Can you start by telling us a little bit about Acceleron and its development? I think since sort of spinning off from ABB in 2022. But tell the listeners a little bit about Acceleron and what they can expect.
Hey, Sean, also thanks for having me. And we are equally excited to be part of the London International Shipping Week. Quickly talk about Acceleron. Acceleron is, as you said, the global leader in turbocharging, fuel injection and digital vessel performance solution for the marine and energy. But let's take a look back in time. Because 1904, as you already said, we invented it. It was in fact a Swiss engineer, Alfred Büchi, who filed a patent for the turbocharging. And 20 years later, BBC Turbocharging, the predecessor of Acceleron, produced its first commercial turbocharger. So, and by the way, this turbocharger is still on display at our headquarters in Bern and in Switzerland. You know, we gave him a nickname, and the nickname is Victor.
And why Victor?
I don't know really. I know there's an abbreviation of one of the turbocharger, which is a bit complicated, and I think just people thought it's easier to call it Victor. So, but 100 years later, then 2024, we as Acceleron celebrated 100-year of anniversary. And as you mentioned already, in 2022, we spun off from ABB. Now we are a stock-listed company at the 6th Swiss Stock Exchange, and you know, since then we have acquired 3 companies. So we entered fuel injection business with 2 acquisitions. One OMT in Turin and OMC2 in Brescia, both in the beautiful northern Italy with good vineyards. And we are benefiting from the trend to dual fuel engines. I think we all know that almost 50% of our ships have now dual fuel engines. And the good thing is, you know, each and every dual fuel engine needs 2 dedicated fuel injection systems. So no surprise. We got record orders in 2024. And you know what? The demand even exceeds the capacity today. And that's why we're investing 80 million through to 2029 to double capacity to 150 million US dollar. And also we expanded our digital offerings with True North Marine from Canada. True North Marine in Canada is complementing our digital vessel performance solution with voyage optimization and also consultancies. We call the consultancy the expert in the loop. So turbocharging, fuel injection, and digital optimization, all complementary technology and all targeting 2 things, efficiency and decarbonization in marine and energy.
Before we come on to the whole issue of decarbonisation and emissions, I mean, this whole issue of digitalisation, and I find it fascinating and very exciting. And to be honest with you, Daniel, I really wish, you know, I was in my 30s starting out in this industry again, you know, or 20s when I started out, because there's so much excitement, so much opportunity now moving forward. But the shipping industry is very fragmented. You've got a lot of ship owners, you've got a lot of managers, a lot of operators, you've got different levels of operation. You've got some aspects who are sort of really embracing digitalization in a massive way. And then you've got the sort of laggards, the companies who are taking their time in actually looking at the opportunities. How do you see shipping really moving down that digitalization route? And we will come on to decarbonisation in a minute, but how do you see shipping accelerating down? Is it a continuous process or is it going to be in stages?
It's interesting that you ask because I had long life in power generation. And you know, in power generation 1990, I was working for one of the OEMs for large gas turbine combined cycle. I tell you, we had all the power plants hooked up. We could tell exactly which power plant was good working. And when I came here, I was shocked that there was no digitalization. I mean, I always said that the data we get by the birds transporting the data to onshore. But we see here now really, I mean, look, ships becoming so technically complex, and we try to optimize efficiency, and sometimes we have no clue where to do. I mean, just take, I mean, hull and propeller was not a discussion about efficiency improvement, and we try to optimize the engine, and we realized that we lose 10% efficiency just by not maintaining the hull. So, and the ships become even more complicated over time. There will be new technology, you know, wind assisted propulsion, air lubrication, waste heat recovery. So we better know where we get the biggest bang for the buck. And here we have to move ahead, and we see now that, especially on new builds, they're investing now in digital. So ship is not anymore welding steel sheets together. It's now also laying the cable, having the sensors, and having the actuators on the ship that we can optimize it. So it will come, and you know, the regulation will incentivize to have more digital. And by the way, that's the low-hanging fruit. It doesn't cost a lot to digitalize the ship, and it has really big impact. And we need each and every percentage of efficiency improvement now.
But you talked about digital optimization, and I think that's a very, very important area at the moment, because you know, good ship owners and managers are looking at driving value to the bottom line, cutting emissions through sort of efficient management and operation of the vessel, as well as other areas. So you must be very excited about the future moving forward as far as that side of it is concerned.
No, you know, I'm almost 60, and it needs a lot to excite me. And I 100% agree. I mean, it's an exciting time. We have the technology, we have the ambition, we have a bit the pressure which human being normally needs. And I 100% agree. It's cool in this industry because we really now can make a difference.
Now, coming on to the carbon issue, you know, shipping, you know, emissions are rising. You know, the whole focus is going in on emissions all the time. And, you know, we hear the debate about how green shipping is, you know, 3% of greenhouse gases, but it's carrying 90% of world trade, etc. But while sort of carbon budgets are shrinking, etc., you've already been talking about how Acceleron is growing fast at the moment. I think, looking at my notes here, crossing the 1 billion revenue mark in 2024 with a clear focus on decarbonisation. What are you looking to achieve at London International Shipping Week? You've come in a very, very important stakeholder and partner within the week itself. What are you hoping to achieve?
First of all, it will be my first time at the London International Shipping Week. So I'm really looking forward. And again, you know, it's about meeting people and exchanging thoughts and opinions and ideas. So for us, it's definitely a unique event for the industry. And it's a good place for us to present our first part of our new report. And this new report will tackle the biggest hurdle to decarbonization in shipping. We will present this report on September 16th. At the global hub of the London International Shipping Week. We will also host a panel about finding a way through this energy transition. The situation of the marine energy transition reminds me of the movie Field of Dreams. You know, if you build it, they will come. It's a movie from the 80s where a voice was whispering to a farmer in Iowa, so in the middle of nowhere, to build a baseball stadium on his farmland, and the people will come. The farmer built it, and they came. Unfortunately, it's not the case for the maritime sector. We built it, they did not come. Let me explain a bit what I mean with that one. So you can look at decarbonization as having 3 time horizons. So first of all, we have a lot of proven technology. We have to go viral with efficiency. We can't wait. There's 50,000 ships out there. Less than 40% have energy saving technology. Imagine 60%, not really. And the second push is about developing more of the emerging technology to bridge from now to net zero. We need more. Carbon capture, just to name one, but there are many other technology still in its infancy, but we need them. But last but not least, the third one, which is the most critical one. We have to invest in carbon neutral fuel ecosystems. We can't allow to wait anymore to invest. It will take anyway decades until enough carbon neutral fuel is available. And so now we have to start now. So now coming back to my field of dreams, we built the ships, but the fuel has not come yet. And due to this long-term fuel uncertainty, its flexibility is necessary, but flexibility is costly. Just take a look at the additional cost of building and operating a dual fuel ship versus single fuel ship, let alone the big infrastructure we need on port for having hundreds of different ship fuels. And even, if you talked in about CO carbon capture, the infrastructure is exploding.
I mean, this point about infrastructure comes up all the time, and I think when you look at the options with LNG as a transitional fuel, and then you've got methanol, ammonia, etc., and it's that very exciting, But it's like me driving my electric car. I'm okay as long as I know where I'm going to charge it, and it's going to be okay, and what have you. This whole infrastructure, is it going to be that blockage at the moment? Is it going to be the issue? Where do you get your methanol from, for instance?
The good thing you mentioned about your car and charging station. So now imagine for shipping means you're not only looking for a charging station, you have to find the right charging station, because different electrons now, you can't charge the green electrons, you need the blue ones and so on. And so that's the one. So world is getting more complicated in shipping. It's not just one solution we have to accept. And in addition, this is the famous chicken and egg. So ports will only invest in the infrastructure when there's someone also committing to this infrastructure, but they are only commit to deploy this technology when they are sure that the fuel is available. So how can we break up this dilemma? This chicken and egg. So there we have to go through, and we believe we have an idea how to overcome that one.
What is the idea? Or are you reluctant to divulge your greatest secret?
Not at all. No, Sean. So look, it's not a secret. I'm not aware, and I'm an engineer, and unfortunately I know a little bit. The only net zero solution in shipping is carbon neutral fuels. And the solution will be green hydrogen-based synthetic fuels, and such as ammonia and methanol, as already said. So, but shipping, as you already said, is responsible for 3% of global CO2 emission. But with this volume, it's difficult to build a global hydrogen ecosystem. But the good message, and I'm coming from different industry, shipping is not the only one that needs hydrogen to decarbonize. So we can team up with other so-called hard-to-abate sectors. Sectors that cannot be fully decarbonized by going electric. So we talk about aviation. They also need 300 million ton of fuel. Steel, cement, chemicals, power generation, agriculture. And agriculture, by the way, doesn't mean to run the tractors. It's about we need fertilizers. Today we use methane to produce that one. So, they totally account for over 70% of global CO2 emission. And I think there we can do a lot. But it's clear, if you want to decarbonize by 2050, this amount, and there is a study, and now you can argue a little bit whether it's plus or minus, but just take the pure numbers, $9 trillion or $9,000 billion for green hydrogen ecosystem. And that means production, transport, and storage. And hydrogen demand will already outstrip supply by 900% in 2030. So there is a clear way forward, and we need to team up.
That sounds a massive task. I mean, a lot of opportunity, but I mean, how do you get that going? How can that whole process start? Because, as I said, the one thing that's certain about all of this is a complete uncertainty about fuels, and hydrogen being an option.
It's clear it's a huge demand. I mean, oil and gas had 150 years to build up, and that they produce now 100 million barrels of oil. And if you take the equivalent of coal and gas, we talk about more than 200 million barrel of oil equivalent to produce. If we are serious, we have to accept the challenge. But, here I would just say the demand is there, but it's scattered across all these hard-to-abate industry. And shipping won't make it through the energy transition alone. So we believe we have to join forces for critical mass. And none of these industries will get to net zero without hydrogen. So why not pull together and shift the balance in our favor? We see a huge opportunity to scale up demand aggregation, and especially across sectors. We have to break the carbon neutral fuel deadlock, and it starts with the first step.
Yeah, and I think you're right, but it is actually closing that supply demand gap, isn't it, Daniel? I mean, that's the key thing.
But, we can always say who should start. I mean, maybe we can turn around and say, if not shipping, which industry? And the hard to abate sectors all need hydrogen-based solution and carbon neutral feedstock. So I'm optimistic, because it seems that shipping could become the only industry with a global regulatory framework for climate action, and that will give some global pressure. And if the new IMO net zero framework hopefully will be approved this October, so fingers crossed. But the cool thing is really ports are a natural nexus for cross-sectoral action. So in the future, ports will store and provide e-fuel to fuel shipping. And at the same time, they will store and provide e-fuel and its feedstock as a cargo for many of the hard-to-abate sectors. So now would be the time for shipping to lead on decarbonization. Imagine the unbelievable metamorphosis of shipping. From shipping known as the cheap and dirty to shipping become the role model of energy transition. So the core challenge is breaking the fuel deadlock, and here ports could play an important role due to their natural nexus to many hard-to-abate industries.
But I think what you're saying there, it's about collaboration and working together within the industry as well as between industries and industries. So I embrace what you're saying there as far as shipping is concerned. Highly regulated, very efficient, very agile, carrying 90% of world trade day in, day out. Does what it does, doesn't cost anybody anything, doesn't cost regulators anything, governments don't have to pay for it, it gets on and does its job. But we need to solve this whole issue of emissions, and if that means we're all cooperating together. But shipping is agile enough and able to lead that, do you think, Daniel?
Yes. Let's be realistic. If in the end, the human being need to have that one. If they don't want to, it will not happen. I mean, you have to be clear, it will cost more. The future fuels will cost more energy, but with a fossil, we believe it's cheaper. It's not correct because we only pay half of it. Because the rest, to manage the CO2 emission, we give to our next generation. I think would be fair now if we start using energy where we have the full cost when we use it. And this is something, I'm always saying politicians can do a lot, but they can't change physics. And we have to be honest to the people. I mean, this cannot go on like that. We will pay the price in one way or the other, but we can pay the price by fighting the root cause, or we can pay the price, and probably it's even higher, by fighting the symptom. And I'm a strong believer, and I have 3 kids. And I hope we will not give them a disaster, and we'll try to do our best to solve it at the beginning, and not only at the end.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But Daniel, we've covered, just looking at my questions here, the technology, the challenges and the opportunity for shipping to lead this sort of cross-sector initiative, and that's great. Really important, as we're saying, to break this fuel deadlock. Why is now the moment for Acceleron and the industry to step forward, would you say, and talk about it at London Shipping Week? I mean, it's going to be fascinating to come to your event and to listen to what you're going to say, but why is now the time?
Me and I believe this is the time now, and I'm really excited with London International Shipping Week is the place. And to clarify the hurdles that have stalled the progress on carbon neutral fuels. And as already mentioned, IMO has an important vote on the net zero framework in October. And the more we clarify ahead of that one, the better. And we are rare, Acceleron, we are a small company in the shipping industry, but we try to help kickstart e-fuel production. I think that's what we can contribute. We believe this is the moment for the shipping industry to really take that lead. Again, imagine we are moving away from our reputation to be cheap and dirty. So we are here to present really and explore at the London International Shipping Week how shipping can, aggregate the fuel demand across sector. We are not alone. There's a lot of sectors they are also looking forward. Break the carbon neutral fuel deadlock by joining forces and kickstart. So I hope we and I can go back and say, hey, we started something.
No, I totally agree. Well, Daniel, thank you so much indeed for your time today. It's been fascinating listening to you, a bit of a snapshot on what we're going to be expected to listen and seeing during the Global Hub and during London International Shipping Week. And absolutely fascinating to see, the growth and development of Acceleron, and really how you're going to be tackling this whole issue. As I said, I'm very excited about shipping at the moment. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of very, very exciting aspects now moving forward. This whole issue of fuel is going to be dominating. And when you've got companies and people like yourself behind it, it's good to see that action is actually happening. But Daniel, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your participation in LISW. We look forward to working with you in the run-up to LISW as well as during the week itself. But it's going to be a good week. But thank you very much indeed, Daniel.
Thank you, and great for having me. And